Here I am once again with the 2019 Beta 125 RRS. And the bike's been running great for me. The 125cc is as far as power. I heard the 150cc kit's a little bit better. It's not necessarily going to give you huge amounts, but it might compensate for the elevation here. And being 150cc, technically, you could then be on the interstate. Not that I think you would want to still, but you possibly could be as far as legality. And so I bought this kit from sxparts.com. The link will be in the description. They sent this from Indonesia, their Indonesia outfit, but it's actually Yamaha parts, and this is what they sell for these motors, because it's a Yamaha motor, using a lot of products overseas there. And a couple $100, I think. You know, things change with prices, so you'll have to click the link and see what the current pricing is. And I think shipping was only $40 considering it's coming from overseas. That's not bad. So you get, you know, 2 new base gaskets, it looks like. You get the piston. I've already done an unboxing, but we'll rehash this, and this is going to be part 1. You get a sheet that shows, I guess, the cam profile and everything. You get the jug. There we have it. So small and cute. That's where the cam chain tensioner goes, right there. I heard I might have to make that a little bit bigger or something. I don't know, figure it out. Heard it's not that hard though. You got your rings, you got your pin, I think the various clips and what have you in here. And then I got the stage 1 cam. So there it is, stage 1 cam. So you'll want that too. I think this was like $50. I want to say $55. Not bad. I mean, obviously compared to what they charge for parts in the US. And that's all we have here. I'm gonna take a look at this little piston. So here's this little teeny piston. Look how cute that guy is. Look how cute that is. So being that it's a Yamaha part made in Indonesia for all these engines they sell there, it should be pretty reliable because it was engineered for this engine. And, you know, that's what we have. So I'm going to give this a whirl, see if I can put this all together. And if you want the part numbers for all that, you'll have to check out my other video. I'll try to remember, put it in the description. First thing we have to do here is obviously remove seat, remove tank and that stuff. I'm gonna have to drain the coolant. And well, that's pretty much it to start. And then just work on like removing various hoses, spark plug wire, anything else. And exhaust, have to remove that. Won't be bad because I can undo it there, undo it here, and just pull this section off. Pull off the rubber hose back here for the emissions equipment. And yeah, should be good to go. But as we get down to the engine, I will film obviously that stuff, because for this, the water pump's up here. That to me will add a little bit of a challenge probably, but I don't know, I'll overcome it, I'm sure. Right now I'm going to leave on the skid plate. I don't think it's in the way. I got everything taken apart so far. This is what the bike looks like stripped down. You know, I took off this side panel, I took off the airbox side panel, took off the sides, the tank, which is pretty easy. I took off the emissions, which is this guy. That's what that looks like off. That line for the airbox, because that comes in after the filter, I do believe. And you got this small line that goes to the carb to return unspent gases, I guess, back, you know, for the emissions. Now, is all this heavy? No. but at the same time, it opens up an area here. If you actually want to adjust the shock, it's less there. It's just less on the bike, less to deal with. So I've got the overflow here. Looks like it just goes back into the pump. You obviously have a special hose here because look at that kink. Don't want to damage that hose. And yeah, so it's a little busy with stuff to take off. Like obviously I need this off, which I need off anyways because that's the cam chain tensioner. Top end off. It looks like there's a mounting bolt up here for the engine, so I'll have to take that off. I don't have to take off the one down there. Might have to move the horn out of the way. Just add some room. Easy enough. 8 mil. To point out the size of the bolt for the emissions, that was a 10 mil. So 8, 10, and then an Allen, which is, what is the Allen? It's a 4. So that's what you need so far. And let's continue on. Woo-wee! Yep, taking a little longer than I thought. But you can see what I had to dismantle. Kind of the carb's still kept in place. The best part is take a 5mm Allen and hack it down. I use just a angle grinder there and hack this part halfway just so you can reach up on this side and get in there and loosen it. Why did they use Allens on that? I have no idea. Anyways, this is what it looks like. Look at that. That's what that guy looks like. All the parts. So what you'll do is you'll match up the hash mark through this window by turning the crank for top dead center, and also on the water pump on this gear there is a line in here. It's right there, my ring finger. I don't know if you can see that, but you match it up, I'll show you later, to this line on top. And so this should be all good to go because the bike's new. I don't need to adjust anything. The valves are good. Here's the cute little piston. Some black soup, but that's to be expected. I've ridden the bike. That one will stay in. Make sure your cam chain doesn't fall in. Drape it out or put a screwdriver through, do something. I mean, you can usually get to them, but you know, you just have to fish it out of there. And then the other guide is in the head here, or I should say cylinder. And I'm going to go over to the other one now, bring it over here. You will also need to do a little bit of grinding inside here to make that fit so the ratcheting mechanism actually works. It gets hung up right now, but I mean it will go on, but it won't work properly. And I just have to transfer over some of those bolts and what have you, and let's see. So I will take the cam chain tensioner back off. I will get that ground down so, you know, more area there. I'm gonna have to see what I have. My Dremel doesn't work anymore. You'll also move over like these bolts, whatever they're for, into there. Oh, that actually might have been the coolant drain. I was wondering where it was. I had no idea. So it does look like one of the coolant drains. Now I know. I also have to get this gasket off. Be careful, scrape it off, put on the new one. Reverse should be pretty easy. I might actually have this done today. We'll see. Seems like it's going fairly good, a little slower than I thought, but my first time, so figuring it out as I go. For the cam chain tensioner, it takes a little bit, but you have to get it so this ratchets. There's a little mechanism on the cam chain tensioner. You'll see what I mean when you go install it. It hits too close to the wall and it just makes it loose, so it goes back and forth, which you don't want. You need it to ratchet. So in my case, because my Dremel died, you take a file, I happen to have this file, and you just file away a little bit at a time until you get it so it works. And now it works while it's put together, so I know that's good to go. And so when you install it, take out the screw in the spring, which is this, and it will have an O-ring on the end. And that way it stays out, and then when you install it, you know you're good to go. You want to make sure this works, so you're going to spend a little time doing it. If you have a Dremel, it'll probably go a little quicker. Within here, I made little marks. In here, I'll point to, this is the ratcheting mechanism in here, if you can see it. And I made little Sharpie marks up here, knowing where it's at, and I just kept filing. And it's not much, it's just a little, so if you have a Dremel, it'll go real quick. You don't want to take too much, no need to. I got the 150cc piston in. You know, I have its rings on. I just need to put in the circlip and the pin right there, which obviously always stuff some towels in the hole or holes. I need to put a couple more on the back side there for the cam chain. But I got the gasket all peeled off carefully. And the one thing that's going to be difficult that I have never messed with is actually changing out the cam. So I am going to have to actually dig into this more than I thought or wanted. But yeah, I have to go in there and change out the cam. I'm not showing you every single step of this process, or I'd be here filming forever. There's just some stuff you're going to have to know how to do. And I'm not an expert, so I'm not comfortable telling you step by step, like do this, do that. But what I will give you a tip on is weird stuff. So I got the cam here out of the head. It has a bearing on it. Well, I used a 36mm socket that I happen to have. That fit perfectly to go in like that, which kind of show you an example. Obviously the center here would be sticking out of the bearing, but you can see that it gives me a way to hit on the bearing evenly. So 36mm socket, you can just pick that up at an auto parts store. And then once you get, like I use the flat piece here, once it pounds down evenly, then I put a small socket extension into my vise so it wouldn't slide down, and that rested like so, and I just used the hammer, hit on top, and boom, bearing is out. So I got the bearing off of the OEM cam, and now to go over and grab this one. And now putting it back on might be more of a challenge, but I got it off. So one thing at a time, or we can freeze them and all that good stuff too. Just like that. So I need to get that seated on, so that's the next step. So I just got the bearing on the stage 1 cam. It wasn't that difficult. Actually, you know, they tell you to freeze things. Well, turn your canned air, if you have canned air for dusting, turn it upside down and it's liquid that comes out. And just hose this thing. Just spray the bearing. And then I got it partially started so it was even. And then what I did was turn the socket up like that, set this on like that, and very, don't miss or anything. Just tap it on the rest of the way, and bam, it is on. It's good to go. And there we have it. I'll put some oil on here just so it's all lubed up, and we'll put it back in the head. So I got everything back together. I had a little mishap with the rings on the piston and went to a buddy who has one of these bikes, and he had an extra piston with ring and stuff, so he transferred over that stuff. Seems like it works. I just started it. I've topped it off a few times with coolant, so I got the coolant going. It's probably pretty close to being full. Obviously I'll use it, check it again, and just keep bleeding the system, check it a bunch of times, just riding it, and you know, get it filled up, and it should be good to go as far as that. Obviously I still need to put on the plastics. I just tossed on the tank, literally, having bolted it down. So I want to make sure initially there's like no leaks up in there or anything, you know, and I don't think there is. It looks fine. Initial is like okay. I don't have to start over or anything. I did have a small tear in the base gasket, the lower one, inside cylinder to the chain tensioner. I used some Yamaha bond I have. It was a small little tear, just kind of put some on the underside and top, just a little bit, so it would, you know, not leak or have any blow by. So that should be good. Just a smidgen, it's not a big deal. What else? So I definitely need to do a heat cycle. I still need to put that guy back over here. And on the, there's one down there I have to slide up and do for the drain on the carb, because I thought I was gonna have to remove the carb, but ended up not having to. Anyways, that is basically the bike and got it together. I mean, the tricky part of this whole ordeal, I wish I would have did a little bit more on video. See, yeah, that might just because I spilt, or it could be because this line is 100% sealed yet. You know, things will have to go through a heat cycle just to kind of make sure things seal. But and I obviously dripped coolant everywhere. It was messy, hence the paper towels on the floor. I just enjoy that it starts right up, so I guess I'll go ahead and start it for y'all. It's gonna be difficult because I have to pull in the clutch. There we have it. Starts right up. Sounds pretty good. Get a little. Oop. Guess it wasn't ready. Start it back up. Give it a little gas. Seems like it's working. No weird noises or anything. Just let it run for a minute or two, and then I'll check the coolant one last time. Then put the plastics back on, make sure nothing's leaking, and hopefully it's good to go. Hopefully it works, and the 150cc kit will be something that I'll rave about. That one. I always hit the starter. It's like, no, not the starter. Okay, so overall, first impression installing the kit, kind of difficult. I got a little bit over my head, but just little frustration things that once stepping away, coming back to it, calming down, things worked out. This pump being up here is kind of a pain. If that wasn't up there and I was in a different spot to pump the coolant, it would be so much nicer. So you kind of have to time that. There's a line on it. I didn't show all that because I'm not an expert, and I don't want people to follow my video step by step and then have an issue, if you know what I mean. You know, pretty much you're gonna have to have some experience to be doing this. One thing I didn't know, buddy, I was like, so do you know the valve clearances? They're actually on the sticker on here. It's 0.10 to 0.175 millimeters. So just break out your gauges. I did it at 0.15. So I could have went as thick as 0.175, but I did 0.15. If that makes sense. I kind of figured in between, that way I can kind of be a little off either way, you know, slightly, because it's all by feel, putting the feeler in there. So you just do the best you can. And yeah, that's basically it. I mean, this was kind of the hardest part, feeding the chain up through here, through the cylinder to the top end, and getting the gear on, and then getting the gear, making sure this was top dead center with the hash mark. There's a hash mark in there, and putting the gear on. There's a mark on the gear you'll see, and you line it up to the tab that's up there. There's a V, and everything is supposed to line up. So hash mark in this window going this way, then line on the gear going up. So you'll have to maybe play to get that tooth by just 1 or 2 teeth when you get the gear in. Of course, you're playing with an arm mechanism that does this little rod thingy. Not sure quite what that does, but that's what you're doing. And so chain turns the water pump gear is plastic. It's going to cycle the coolant throughout the system. Okay, well, that's it. I'm going to button this back up, and I'll be doing a ride soon. So follow along for that first impression of what I think, and then following a few impressions, and then we'll see what happens in a following video. Like I said, from get-go, some lucky person can buy this. I'm probably selling it. The wife tried riding it. She said she didn't like the feel of it, but she did ride it. So I think I probably only have 300 miles on it. So probably after testing, 450, 500 at most. So it's still going to be like a new bike with a big bore kit. That's a Yamaha big bore kit. And you'll get the 125 kit, which is still good. Nothing wrong with it. You know, you get the cylinder, the piston. So you could always go back if you need to for whatever reason. So that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed. I know it wasn't holding your hand walking through, but I'm not qualified to do that, honestly. I'm not, and I know that. So hopefully if there was a little tip or trick, I just mentioned it, and you got to see some of the stuff, and you get to you know, kind of figure that out on your own. Oh, I did put back on the emissions. I know I talked about removing earlier on, but because I'm selling the bike, I'm gonna let the next person worry about that. But if I was keeping this, I would actually leave all that off, clog the lines, and that go back to the airbox and stuff, and just leave that off totally. It's not for weight savings. It would just be, it would open this up. It's just less stuff on the bike, less clutter. I would angle grind that. Oop, yeah, don't touch the exhaust, Mark. I would angle grind that metal piece off, have somebody just weld it closed, and be good to go. So anyways, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please check my other videos and the follow-up video. Take care, everybody, and stay well, my friends. Have a good one. Bye.